We have special guests from the UK. And Radar Fridge tonight actually is part of the UK Southeast Asia Tech Week. But I'll stop there because I'd like to welcome to the stage His Majesty's Trade Commissioner, Martin Kent. Welcome, sir, to the event. And please, go on stage.
Thank you so much. And it's absolutely brilliant to be here. And I was wondering, thank you. I was wondering, as you asked people, have you been to a Raid the Fridge event before? Has anyone been to all 140? I don't know, Minette, have you been to 100? There's probably a couple in the audience.
At least 10 times.
10 times? 20? 30? 40? 50? 60? Alvin, you're the winner. You are the most loyal member. I don't know if this is the start of a loyalty scheme for Raid the Fridge. Well, look, very good evening, everyone. My name's Martin Kent, and I'm the United Kingdom's Trade Commissioner to the Asia-Pacific region. And it's absolutely fantastic to be here at Area 55, a space that embodies innovation, ambition, and the boundless potential of the Philippine startup ecosystem. And tonight, we're not just here to raid the fridge. We're here to celebrate a remarkable milestone. Kickstart Ventures' 13th anniversary. So the 140th anniversary of Raid the Fridge, the 13th anniversary of Kickstart Ventures. So I think that deserves a round of applause for Kickstart Ventures. So to Minette and the entire Kickstart team, congratulations, 13 years of investing in bold ideas, backing visionary founders and shaping the future of tech in the Philippines and beyond is no small feat. Kickstart has been a cornerstone of this ecosystem, proving that with the right support, local startups can scale globally. I'm also incredibly pleased to announce that our Tech Growth Programme partnership with Kickstart Ventures is now in motion. This collaboration reflects the UK's strong commitment to supporting organisations such as Kickstart, ensuring they have networks, expertise and opportunities to grow, not just in the region, but on the world stage. Minette, thank you for your continued partnership and trust in what we can build together. Startups, and I think that deserves a round of applause. Thank you, Minette. Startups are the beating heart of any thriving tech ecosystem. They drive innovation, they challenge the status quo, and create solutions that transform industries. Over the past 2 days of UK Southeast Asia Tech Week in Manila, we've seen firsthand just how deep and dynamic the UK-Philippines tech relationship has become. And this is just the beginning. Our goal is to keep strengthening these connections, to create more opportunities for collaboration, and to open more doors for Filipino companies to work with the UK and beyond. I'm also pleased to share that we've got the Open Data Institute with us this evening. Open Data Institute, give us a wave. We have absolutely brilliant to have the Open Data Institute with us, and testament to the UK's commitment to open innovation and responsible data-driven growth. The ODI has played a crucial role in shaping global data standards, and I have no doubt that their insights will add great value to the discussions happening here tonight. So please do grab this man and have a good discussion about data. So as we celebrate, let's remember technology isn't just about what we build, but who we build it with. The future of tech is open, collaborative, and borderless, and together we are shaping the future. So with that, cheers to Kickstart Ventures, to partnerships and the incredible individuals and companies that make this ecosystem thrive. That's all of you. Thank you and enjoy the evening. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Kent. So now we'd like to call to the stage our very own dear president, Kickstart's founder,
Scary.
Minette Navarrete.
Gosh. Thank you, Martin. Very kind of you to say that. Good evening to everyone. Welcome to Kickstart. Thanks for being here. how do we start this? Mabuhay. Um, Mabuhay is a Philippine word that, we use it to say welcome. We use it to celebrate. We use it to congratulate. Um, there are many things to be celebrating. Um, and I guess one of them is this relationship we have started to build with the UK, via the UK Embassy, via the Department for Business and Trade. A couple of years ago, the ambassador came and invited us to meet your predecessor. And at that time, we were just starting to run diligence on a UK company. Mike Mate over there led that deal. And by, I think, June of 2023, we had closed the deal sitting in a restaurant somewhere um, around London, signing a contract with them on DocuSign, as everyone does. And Natalie announced it at London Tech Week. Since then, we have seen quite a number of startups, sometimes for investment, sometimes for partnerships. And that is one of those things that we do celebrate a lot. The fact that we can build partnerships across the seas, the fact that we can look at the different strengths that each party brings, and that we are able to build something special, something good, and something for the good of the greater community. So today, as we celebrate our 140th Raid the Fridge, and I thank the team for that. I was saying this is an entirely team run event. We do not outsource. So Pia has been running this event for years. Carlo, the man behind. Um, Aya, who is somewhere welcoming everybody. Selena, who is worrying and organizing and thinking, and in true Kickstart fashion, overthinking. Um, but welcome to everybody. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Martin, Sakib, John, Karen. Where are you, Karen? Rain. Um, we're always happy to make friends, and we are happier to nurture the friendships and keep them running for many years. Mabuhay kayo. And thank you, everyone.
Thank, thank you so much, Minette. And so we go back to the best part of the evening. Go raid the fridge and make 10 new friends. So we'll see you back at 7:30. Thank you, Mr. Kent, and to Minette for the kind words. So now it is time to go back and networking and making new friends. So we do have a rule: we have to make 10 new friends. You don't have to report back to me. You just make sure you you do that. So go raid our fridge at the back. Some beers are also here downstairs, and tonight's theme is Philippine Fiesta. So you can see with the buntings. So we just wanted to make sure that our guests from the UK feel the Philippine Fiesta mood. So that's why we have the ice cream and the toho. So please, for our guests, do partake some. Thank you. And see you back at 7:30 for the program with Josh Dadario. Thank you.
Apartment. I had this dream where everything crashes, and I start to wonder when it'll happen. If I'm being honest, I like the feeling, letting it all burn. I love to slip fast, get carried away, slip fast, get carried away, away, away. Slip fast, get carried away, slip fast, get carried away, away. Oh God, what I pay to just run away from this. Let me pay for it later. Slip fast, get carried away. Slip fast, get carried away. Away, away. I was younger, I'd take it down and lay on the carpet, pills on the counter. If I was lonely, I'd call up Rachel, be there in 20, jeans at her ankles. I had this dream with I never met you, but then I woke up inside your bedroom. I'm being honest. Sometimes I wanna just let it all burn. I love to slip fast, get carried away. Slip fast, get carried away. Away, away. Slip fast, get carried away. Slip fast, get carried away. Away. Oh God, what I pay to just run away from this. Let me pay for it later. Slip fast, get carried away. Slip fast, get carried away. Oh, away. Sometimes I studied sculpture at St. Martin's College. That's where I she floated to my case on the room. She's 30 seconds time. She said, I wanna live like common people. I do whatever common people do. Wanna sleep with common people. I wanna sleep with common people. I said, oh, I'll see what I can do. I took him to a supermarket. I don't know why, but I just started somewhere. So it started there. I said, pretend you money. And she just laughed and said, you're so funny. I said, yeah. I can't see anyone else smiling. Are you sure? You wanna live like common people. You wanna see whatever common people see. Wanna sleep with common people. You wanna sleep with common people like me. But she didn't understand. She just smiled. Oh yeah. I'm really glad to invite the tale innocence out. Cause everybody hates a tourist, especially when it thinks it's all such a laugh. Yeah, and it gives things a grace. Oh, come out in the bathroom. Understand how it feels to live your life with no control. I was nowhere left to go. You are amazing. And it burns so bright while you kept asking the world. Stop. What's so cool? inside the eye of your mind. Don't you know you might find a better place to play? You said that you never been, but all the things that you've seen slowly fade away. So I should never lose you from my life. But you said the brains I had to watch about. Step outside, summertime's in bloom. I stand up beside you, take from out your face. You got so sides away. But don't look back in anger. I heard you say, but you don't put your nose away. You gotta try to stop them. Cause you said the breaks I had to but it's summertime in bloom. I heard you say, say, successful fella, thought to himself, upside, got a lot of money. It's terminally. I'm a professional cynic, but my heart's not in it. I'm paying the price of living life at the limit. Century, society, yes, it's based on here. House in the country. You're not gonna repeat in the 30 years in the country. Takes a manner of pills and piles up on the spells in the country. Oh, it's like an animal farm. That's a real old charm in the country. He's got morning glory and life's a different story. Everything's going jackets on rings. I can't no more mortality. Trading outside, looking at closer, helping and the makes you feel worse for blind. Oh, it's a century, it's remedy. But that heart, stand, trust, and in a house, a big house in the country. Set the fog in his chest, so he needs a lot of rest in the country. Doesn't drink, smoke, not take turn, fast in the country. Yes, you come to no harm on the animal farm in the country. In the country. In the country. It's the country. Take no matter of pills, and pass up out of this nails in the country. Oh, it's like an animal farm. That's a real calm in the country. Oh, it's just so we need a lot of sweet symphony that's life. Gently and sweet Slip to my back. Jack and change, feel my mold, feel my mold, but I'm a million. I'm some sounds that recognize the pain in me. Yeah, I let up below sound. It explains my doubt. You never knew about it. Jack and change, Jack and change. But I'm here in my mode. I'm here in my mode. And I'm a million people that want that. That find somebody that I see them. Yeah. I can change, I can change, but I'm here in my mode. I am here in my mode, and I'm a million. just like an angel. Skin makes me cry. Float like a feather in a beautiful world. I wish I was special, so fucking special. But I'm a creep. I'm a I wanna show. I want a perfect body. I want a perfect soul. Want you to notice when I'm not around. So fucking special. I wish I was special, but I'm a freak. I'm a what the hell am I doing here? I don't belong here. Whatever you want. So fucking special. I wish I was special, but I'm a creep. I'm a widow. What the hell am I doing here? I don't belong here. I don't belong here. So if I can't shoot rabbits, then shoot fascists. Oh, that's why I want to take. Oh, we'll forget it all again. Monuments put front and to paper turns me into a godless wonder. Every time Can't be so bad. But I has a fist. I've watched flowers, but now with real intent. follows me. Want to see the just find somewhere. It's drenched in need. It's where long to be. Without the questions and you don't know why. when you go out. You get along with a bit now. And it puts you paying up. And someone give you a leg up. Oh, the price of real estate, the real estate. The highest price that it's today. Creating new devices that you got to tolerate. All those people that you hate, I'm not in love with you. But I won't hold that against you. You got to tolerate all those people that you hate.
Hello, hello. Hello, everyone. Hi. Can I have your attention, please? It's 3 minutes before we start the program. So if you want to sit down, there are still chairs on this side. And I think there are still empty chairs here on the mezzanine area. So please start to make your way to the seats. Make yourselves comfortable. Grab some beers, food. We're not too strict on that one. Just make sure that you enjoy the program. It'll be a short program, it's an hour, unless you make it longer than that with your questions. So we'll play it by ear. So please, let us not leave the seats here empty. If you could start occupying them. Thank you. And also, if you want to go to the washroom for a bio break before we get started.
Down, concentration, avoiding conflict, manifestation. God, obey the
Hi, everyone. How's everyone feeling? Are you all ice hydrated on beers and soda and water, I hope? If you missed the street ice cream, it's in front for our overseas-based guests. So this is a common sight in cities and the countryside. So if you want to taste the street ice cream, we have prepped it for you, and we call soybean curd dessert called taho. So that's very Filipino custom.
But please leave me some ice cream. I haven't had any yet. I didn't want to get too worked up before this, so don't don't take all the ice cream, please.
Okay, everyone. So few house rules before we get started. Okay, so again, for especially for the ones who just walked in, my name is Pia Bernal. I'm the fridge master. We do this every last Thursday of the month, but this month we made an exception for our dear friends from the UK Embassy. So thank you again for partnering with us. And we are very pleased to have this part of the UK Southeast Asia Tech Week celebration in Manila, the first one in the Philippines, and I hope they come back for more the following year and the years after that. For our guests, this is at least a portion of the Philippine startup community. So I hope you make good use of your time. Do make friends, and maybe if you come back, at least you have new friends to reach out to. The house rules. So fridge at the back, but we also have here beers downstairs. If it's really important for you guys to have a call or a side conversation, please do take it outside as a respect to our speaker. I do not want to hear sound noisy sections because I will stop the program if you guys do that. So please take it outside and then just come back once you're done. Also, if you feel a little uncomfortable for reason, blink twice. I'm kidding. Just approach me or anyone of the Kickstart team. Just tell us about it, and then if it needs an action, we'll do so. So just two things. Do that. Tell us if something happened that you made you uncomfortable, and no side conversations that will distract the rest of the audience. Please take it outside. We do have a space downstairs, so if you need to take a call, bring it down. Okay, so very important because that's my pet peeve. Someone's talking and you're also talking on the side. I don't like that. So anyway, so welcome to the 140th Raid the Fridge. If you caught Minette's message earlier, this is a special month for us because we are turning 13, 13 years of Kickstart Ventures. Exactly on Friday, March 28th. And this is our 140th edition. We've served, I don't know how many thousands of beers through the years. San Miguel Beer is a Filipino company. I think some of you have seen it overseas, so I hope you enjoy it. And for this month, we are featuring Open Data Institute. So I don't want to take it longer. So just to briefly introduce you to our speaker. So Josh heads the advisory work for data initiatives in the Open Data Institute, and he works a lot with public and private institutions. And without further ado, I'd like to turn over the microphone to Josh. Welcome, Josh, to Raid the Fridge.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Well, my first order of business is to get my face off of the screen there. Is this working? Perfect. All right, this is a great audience. When I agreed to do this, I thought it'd be like 20 people like after the conference, but this is amazing. So can I ask kindly to take a photo of you all to capture this memory for me? So yeah, I don't know if you can smile, wave, do. No, it's fine. It's fine. All right. Thank you, everybody over here. Don't worry, right side of the building. I'm coming to you next. Can I see some excitement, some ready for open banking? Great. Okay, perfect. So I was told that this doesn't have to be a super formal presentation, and if you have questions, you can just ask them during the presentation, and I would totally prefer that because I think it should just be a bit more dynamic, a bit more relaxed, a bit more fun, and yeah. So welcome, everybody. Right off the bat, I want to apologize, Raid the Fridge. This is my second day in Manila, and it's my second talk of the day. So if my eyes just kind of wander off and I forget where I am, I apologize. It's the jet lag. It's not you. But just wanted to get that out of the way. Okay, so I'm from the Open Data Institute, the ODI. As I said, I already gave a presentation today, so I apologize if I make some of the same comments, lame jokes, that sort of thing, but do bear with me. We're not quite as old as Kickstart Ventures. We're only 12 and a half, so we're almost there, but thank you. We were founded 12 and a half years ago by Sir Nigel Shadbolt, who is a lead researcher in AI and currently the principal of Jesus College at Oxford, and Sir Tim Berners-Lee, who did a little thing a few decades ago called Inventing the World Wide Web. It's a just kind of niche little protocol that is the whole reason that we're having this kind of tech week thing. So yeah, no pressure working for them at all. We're a nonprofit organization, so we're very mission driven. That mission is to help create open, trustworthy data ecosystems in different sectors and geographies. And so the topic of today around open banking and smart data is sort of evidence of that. And the main motivation for what we're doing is trying to create a vision of a world where data works for everyone. And we think, data being more open in the right ways, the more appropriate ways is the way to do that. Our theory of change is really around the value that data can create and the positive impact that it can have. So we think there's, three really critical roles that we see when it is about data creating impact. There's stewardship, so making data available by data sharing or publishing open data. We like to talk about sort of TfL, the Transport for London in London, as a good a good example of this. They publish loads of open data, and it drives sort of the rest of this value chain. So next is the creation. So you think of Citymapper or Google Maps now uses it. These really important services are being created because that data is open. That data stewardship model is appropriate for what's trying to be achieved. And then decisions are then made. And those decisions can be very sort of mundane, quotidian ones like, do I take the overground? Do I take the bus? Or if you're a policymaker, it's how do I improve traffic flows within London? So we really focus on this sort of value chain of data to impact. And there are two negative futures that we're trying to avoid as we do this. So the first one is around data fearing. We call it the wasteland, which is maybe a bit melodramatic, but it's what happens when we fear data. So individuals and organizations are, withdrawing data from collaboration from the public because they're worried, often correctly, around data breaches and things like that. So we need to rebuild that trust to do this with ethical approaches to data, more equitable distribution of value, engagement with data subjects. And then conversely, we have what happens when we hoard data, we call it the oil field. So this is when data is treated like a commodity like any other. So it's an asset. I need to hold on to it. I need to sell it, or else I don't get any value of it. But data has totally different properties than this. If you can use it over and over again, some would argue it gains value the more it's used. So hoarding it doesn't maximize value to society, to the economy, sometimes not even to the business that has it. So we need to really push for openness with this through greater innovation, capabilities, and data infrastructure. And this is our sort of combined theory of change, that improving openness and trust will create positive impact from data. So I'm talking about open data. I'm talking about open banking. These can be kind of confusing things because they're connected but not the same. So we created this open data spectrum about 12 years ago to make sure it's understood what we mean when we say open data and anything else. So open data is that thin slice on the right there. That's data that's published online with an open license so that anyone can access, use, and share it. Most data is shared data. It's available to one organization besides your own, or it's available to part of a sector or a topic area, or it's published on the web. It's publicly available, but doesn't have that open license. So open data is just that little definition off in the corner, and this is what we're mostly dealing with. When we're talking about open banking, open finance, smart data, what we mean here is a very explicit named access to sensitive data. Now, why they called it open banking, I don't know, but it's caused us headaches ever since they did, because it's not open data. Who wants their bank data to be open? Nobody. So it's actually very securely shared data. So just to clear that up. And the key concept that we have when we talk about data, when we talk about these initiatives like open banking, like smart data, is that data is infrastructure. So if you think of it like roads, I think it starts to make more sense to how we should treat it. Lots of roads, they do need toll booths to keep up, their maintenance. Some need to be closed for security reasons, but a lot are publicly invested in and should be open for anyone to access, use, and so forth. And also when we talk about infrastructure, we don't just mean data sets. The data sets are obviously the critical piece of data infrastructure, but we mean more than that. We mean other types of data assets like identifiers, registers. We mean standards and technologies, which is a really key part when we're talking about open banking. We need guidance and policies so that people can access data in the right way and do it ethically. And we need organizations and communities to steward that data and drive it forward. So what is open banking? I'm going to pause here. Does anyone who's not reading my slide know what open banking was before I put up this slide? Only a few brave souls. Okay. Means you're honest. I appreciate that. So what open banking is, as we've discussed, it's not open data, but it is securely shared data across standardized open APIs between your bank and a service provider of your choice, explicitly consented. Doesn't sound like open data, does it? So you can see why the name is confusing. But it's been a revolutionary change in not just the very practical element of data sharing or driving fintech services. It's changed the way we think about national data infrastructure and public data infrastructure. So it's enabled an ecosystem of lots of products, services, businesses to find their way in the market, to deliver value to millions of customers. And like I say here, it really is the blueprint to connect an entire digital economy. So just a little bit on the development and the impact, because they're two very different stories. One is maybe a little bit on the negative side, but it ends with a positive story. So to get to where we are now was quite a difficult journey. Open banking mandated by the Consumer and Markets Authority, so a regulator, a government department in the UK, for the 9 biggest banks to invest a huge amount of money in data infrastructure to allow this to happen and happen in a very secure, consented, and efficient way. So that was a big ask, and it wasn't really an ask; it was a mandate. So it was a big tell. And what they had put forward as this golden use case that's going to make it all worthwhile was that because no one was switching current accounts with your bank, that by building this, allowing people to switch current accounts and only current accounts, that everybody would, and there'd be a bonanza of services that would help people that want to switch their current account. It turns out no one wants to switch their current account. Well, no one wants to switch their current account if all their other money is staying in that bank. So it was a golden use case that turned out not to be a golden use case. But luckily, that data is so valuable that there was an immediate influx of businesses and other organizations offering services that were useful. So personal finance managers, account aggregators, debt relief advice, things started coming in quite quickly. So they got there in the end, but it maybe wasn't the best route forward. However, it does provide a great set of insights and examples for people not to do in other countries. So we thank them for that. So as it says here, as of July 2024, and I'm sure it's more, there's 11 million monthly active users. The open banking ecosystem has contributed, or estimated to have contributed, over 6 billion to the UK economy and the creation of nearly 5,000 skilled digital jobs. There's been further estimates that open banking and other smart data schemes, which I'll explain in a moment, could boost UK GDP by 28 billion. And I think that was made in 2018, so I'm sure it'd be much more now. So they got there in the end. The impact's good. Development, well, they were the first ones to do it. So, you can't be too hard on them. So with smart data, we have the ability to expand open banking into other sectors. Finance, energy, telecoms, transport. So obviously the first one that people are looking into, because open banking has been so useful, is on open finance. So the proposed expansion of open banking is into all of these adjacent elements of the finance ecosystem: savings, mortgages, pensions, investments, insurance. So now these are, really the even more valuable and quite meaty parts of the finance ecosystem. So there's a huge potential for radical change in the financial sector. However, with great potential value becomes great ethical risk. I didn't want to quote Spider-Man there. I told myself I wouldn't do it. So there needs to be a very ethical and equitable approach to this. You can imagine that, sharing mortgage insurance data with, let's say, somewhat unsavory businesses, they may want to take advantage of people that are already in a rough place. So there needs to be a lot of thought and care that goes into this for this expansion. But there's been a lot of use cases that people are thinking of. So right now in the UK, the FCA, which is the finance regulator, is working towards making this a reality. There's a lot of industry behind it that are trying to help shape what this could look like. So one thing that we learned from open banking is get the use case right. So we have a few here that, if it pans out, I think would create a lot of value. So on the savings side, automating surplus transfers to high interest accounts based on your spending habits, obviously benefiting the people with those accounts. On mortgages, I'm not sure how it is in the Philippines, but in getting a mortgage and buying a house or selling a house in the UK is atrociously inefficient. I think about 30% fall through. I'm from Canada originally, if you can't tell from my accent. And that just doesn't happen there. And what we've sort of understood about it in the UK is it's primarily a data problem. So this could really speed that along, which would just really reduce headaches, really boost the sector. So in pensions are scattered all over the place. This could help with centralizing those pensions, allowing tracking across different providers for better retirement planning. Really important stuff. In investments, providing sort of real-time portfolio tracking across those platforms. For insurance, recommending policies based on a wide range of financial data. And then if you include other sectors, even wider smart data. So there's proposed use cases. We're testing them now, which I'll get to momentarily, but we think there's a lot of benefit that can come from this. So back to our sort of definition. So what is smart data? Again, I really wish they picked a different name. I don't know why these names keep getting chosen. But it is the secure sharing of customer data upon the customer's request with authorized third-party providers. So there's actually a couple definitions for smart data in the UK right now. So if you've heard something else, blame UKRI and the research environment. They've really gone AWOL with this. But this is the real one. So I'm saying official ODI stamp of approval. And besides what smart data is, the development of smart data schemes like open banking requires a set of ancillary services or kind of things to happen. So it needs more than just the data being made available. You need a regulatory framework to govern that data sharing, common and open data standards. And I think that's maybe the most important part of the entire framework. But for it to work, you need the participation of data holders, third parties, and regulators. So, if it's just potential data users, the data holders will be a pretty massive holdout. They need to be brought along. I think you need strong representation of consumers and end users. You need a funding model that reflects consumer interests. So open banking version 1 was just let industry pay for it. Is that fair? Most of those banks are pretty well off, so I don't think too many people were crying for them. But if there's a lot of fintechs, challenger banks, and others that are making money off of it, should there be some rebalancing? So now they're thinking about new ways of having kind of premium APIs and ways for the data holders to recoup some of their investment in more direct ways. So critical of smart data and why it's still very much in development is interoperability with other smart data schemes. So finance with energy, telecoms with transport. It's not an easy task. It's not impossible, but it will take work, time, commitment, collaboration. And that all leads to a practical framework for the delivery of these schemes. Now, the previous government had a roadmap. It was a nice long document they put online and had some nice images like this. But then they lost the election. So although this is still mostly right, we think it's going to be these schemes. The timeline's totally different. So the energy ones, those are going along. Telecommunications happened. We're waiting on retail, waiting on home buying. But generally speaking, this is broadly the vision for what sectors are going to be in smart data. So imagine what you can do with your banking data in the UK. Just consent it to be used for service providers with a very, very high secure rate of that happening. But instead of that, it's everything else in your life. It's your energy, it's your transport, your public transit, your retail, where you're buying, your spending patterns, and crucially home buying if you're trying to do so in the UK. So I'll talk about some of these, and then I'll discuss what the potential might be for Southeast Asia, and then that'll sort of be it, and I'll happily open it up to some Q&A. So open communications is underway right now. There's been some consultations, and as you might guess, it's about enabling data sharing about the use of communication services. So this is obviously mobile, but also things like broadband, TV services, those are all sort of in scope for this. And the hope is that this is going to give better products for consumers, obviously, but hopefully also better insights for service providers, because we do want an equitable spread of benefits here. And initial use cases are looking at things like advanced product switching, so not just on money, but on location, on commute, on energy use, managing utilities in shared households, and participating in smart city initiatives. So imagine you could consent to your mobile data being used by your local government to determine, okay, how can we reduce the roads that are used and have more pedestrianization based on how people actually move and help improve air quality. So these are all possibilities with open communications. With open energy, we have the consultations out. Those have started to happen. There's already an open energy data sharing platform, and that's mostly an index of existing open data and potential development for shared data. But it's really geared towards, how do we use the data flowing through the energy sector to promote a low carbon, decarbonized future for the UK. And so again, hopefully it's going to be better switching, better outcomes, reduced money for households, but it has a much stronger environmental requirement for it, let's say. So apologies if the type is a little small on this. I didn't know what size room I was going to be in. But as I mentioned before, this is a big investment, right? So if you're a bank, if you're an insurance organization, if you're an energy company, this means, this policy change means you got to spend a ton on new APIs, new data infrastructure, on time talking to your competitors about what the standard is going to be for data sharing. So how do you get any ROI on that? Or better yet, how do you know it's going to be good for the customers that you have that it's purported to be? So we've been working with DBT in the UK on the Smart Data Challenge. So this is a data innovation challenge that is taking, and we're working alongside Nesta Challenge Works, if you heard of them. And this is taking synthetic data that is being used to mimic what the data from open finance, from open energy, from open communications, and so forth would look like, and encouraging participants to prototype new services to see what's really possible with this. So through this, we do want to confirm our hunch that this is going to be a good thing and going to produce valuable services. This is a way to prove that. We also want to learn what the standards might have to look like or other elements of the infrastructure so that we don't have to do it after the policy's out. So saving some costs, hopefully, for those data holders, those data providers. And to learn, what is the best way to roll this out? Do we need to do one sector at a time? Do we need to do more than one at a time for it to be useful for one? Can you do telco without energy, or do you need all your utilities bundled? And then for the participants, they get a nice 50 grand to prototype the development. So we've just actually ended the open call on this. And I should actually be reviewing some of those participants right now, but I'm here with you guys, so I hope they're not too upset. And then the winner will be kind of announced at a big judging event in October, I think it is. And they get sort of like an additional 50K towards their work. So hopefully with this innovation challenge, we will be able to understand, what are some very concrete ways that smart data can benefit people, consumers, and small businesses. Sorry, I forgot that bit. It's not just consumers, it's also SMEs. So, what we're trying to do is hopefully really beneficial, and hopefully this will say, unequivocally, yes, this is a good idea. So banks, insurers, energy companies can't really complain. That's the hope, at least. So what's the potential for Southeast Asia? I've done some of my own research on this in kind of previous projects. We know things are set for rapid growth in open banking, and that's been a part of regulation, fintech innovation, and bank fintech collaboration. And there's a lot of other kind of connected elements there with rising smartphone adoption, digital payments, things like that. So that with the right regulations and tech investments, there are predictions of a finance sector that's generating billions and billions in US dollars. I've then really helpfully found some very interesting research online. So this is not mine. I should have actually put a URL for it, but it's TwinBit research. So I want to give full attribution. And also, if it's wrong, I don't want this coming back on me. So, but yeah, so we're looking at, if we look at the Philippines as well, huge mobile cellular subscription. I love that everyone here has more than one phone, apparently. So that's great. Lots of internet use, smartphone and 5G penetration. So things are looking good infrastructure readiness-wise. We're seeing a lot of the kind of like key drivers that are coming into place. So know your customer frameworks, open finance frameworks, digital payments infrastructure. These are all sort of, if not prerequisites, they're key enablers that will make things much easier to push through. And then finally, Philippines is in the sort of intermediate era of the kind of Global Open Finance Maturity Index, which I think is a good one because you're putting the regulatory initiatives into place. Once the market is sort of unlocked, like apparently it has been in Singapore, things are looking good. So it really feels like open finance, open banking, smart data, it's something that could take off here, take off in neighboring countries, and you might even see more integration because of that if it happens. Okay, so to sum things up, one final slide. I think this is my last slide. On key insights from the UK. So be use case oriented. And I guess also get it right. Don't be bad use case oriented. So data infrastructure is an investment someone needs to make. Strong use cases mean strong ROI and sooner. Open banking got there, but it was a journey that no one else needs to take. Point 2, standards, standards, standards. And for more things than you might think. So yes, data formats, obviously. Yes, APIs. Yes, security. We need that all to be standardized. But even things like UX means greater interoperability and better customer outcomes. The first open banking standards didn't have UX, and some banks really didn't like having to do open banking. So they made the UX really, really bad. And so knowing that this was them really kind of taking the piss, they put in some UX guidelines and said, no, you can't have 17 authentication buttons that say you're going to lose all your money if you continue. So yeah, we need some standards on that too. Another big one is ecosystem building. And it feels appropriate being in here. This looks like a pretty good open finance ecosystem if I ever saw one. So, creating space not only obviously for incumbents, but for startups and civil society, importantly, to work together that can really supercharge innovation. And try not to make it, combative, because data providers will obviously feel like they're the ones with something to lose, while challenger banks come up and fintechs come up saying that, well, we're going to eat your lunch, we're going to provide these services better using data that you hold. And sometimes that's true. But maybe if we get people together earlier, we can have more partnerships. So it's an easier pill to swallow. And civil society are the ones that are also coming up with a lot of those altruistic use cases. So that debt relief I was talking about as one of the use cases of open banking, that came from civil society. Foreground ethics. So I mentioned this briefly when I was talking about open finance, but increasing access to data increases risks. I'm from the Open Data Institute. I love increasing access to data, but I'm not saying there's not risks. And it's beyond just legal too. So there's things around, ethical things that might be legal, but if it feels icky, do you really want to do it? But having those conversations, being honest and open and collaborative helps make those ethical justifications. And finally, blending openness with financial sustainability. I'm from the Open Data Institute, and open data, it's free to access, but it's not free to create, to publish. So as much as, I don't want anyone to pay for data that should be open, I do recognize that someone's got to cover those costs. So how does that work? Can you have open APIs on some cuts of the data, premium APIs on ones that only, kind of big companies and high spenders are going to use? That way you kind of balance it out. Balancing openness and financial sustainability is hard. And anyone from the open data world that tells you they've nailed it, they're lying to you or selling you something, because it's difficult every time. So can premium services for those data providers and others balance the financial burden? So that was the last slide. I can't confirm. So thank you all. That's all I have to say about that. And I'm happy to do some Q&A. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Josh. So you've heard it from Josh, shed light on the evolution of open banking to open finance and smart data applications. Now we shift to the fun part of the program. So time check, it's 8:05. We end the program at 8:30. So basically, my rule for Q&A is simple. You make it as fun as it should be if you join in with your questions. So make it fun. So, and also because they flew in from overseas. Let's also give Josh an opportunity to learn what you guys have been doing. So make it a two-way conversation. So I leave it to you, Josh, to invite questions from the audience or ask, just reverse the role.
Okay.
I'd like to start the Q&A though with, I'll get back to you, sir. I'll make sure that you're the first person to ask a question. So what I'll do is we'll have a microphone downstairs. So my colleague Selena here will keep note, will let me know who is in the queue for Q&A. And for people here in the mezzanine is my colleague Yanni. Will have the microphone. Just raise your hand and I'll mark you. So the first question is, so what have been the challenges that you've seen implementing open finance?
Yeah, so I think probably touched on some of this already. But with open finance, there's all of the problems that open banking had around making sure that you get the right use case, so you're driving real ROI, because you have to make the case to a lot of usually quite powerful companies that may not want to do it. So finding out what that like killer use case is really helpful. And also is the sort of potential risk around certain types of data being made more available. So that insurance data, mortgage data, pension data, could there be some actual negative repercussions for that? You got to plan that in and find ways of mitigating those risks. And the more interoperable data is, the more valuable it is. But again, you can really increase the risks. So you need to be thinking about, if I have access to someone's, mortgage, energy, telecoms, banking data, can I, as just a business that's trying to make good products and serve themselves, can I do something unethical with that? And if the answer is absolutely yes, then maybe we need to rethink what that looks like. But yeah, those are, I guess, some of the big challenges.
Thank you, Josh. So I will now open the floor for questions, but please, just one question. I do not want a second follow-up question to sneak in. So let's just make sure that you have one question so that we are able to get more questions from the rest of the audience. So, sir, please state your name and your organization.
Hi, my name is Lafayette Davis, and I'm with LZV CPA. And my question, can you send me those slides?
Yes, you may all receive the slides.
No, just me.
Okay.
My question,
Well,
my answer. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So who else? So please, one question from this floor. None so far? Yes, sir. Please state your name and organization. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Omar. I'm from Huawei. I used to be a data protection officer in a past life. It seems to me that the UK framework that you've been talking about is consent-based, right? There are 9 banks that have bought into it. And then in the Philippines, the framework that we have is either consent-based or based on legal interest. Sorry, sadly, I'm a lawyer as well. And the legitimate interest. And in the Philippines, our privacy commission has defined legitimate interest, and it says you can do this, do that, except only for personal information and not sensitive personal information, which includes things like banking data. So I'm more interested in asking, what's the kind of framework that the Philippines would have to do to enable open banking, open finance? Is it regulations? So our existing law works already, or do we have to change the law? And our law is based on the GDPR of Europe.
yeah. So as you mentioned, all those other kind of ways that you can process personal data, like legitimate interest and things, those are in GDPR as well. So open banking essentially just focuses on a subset of GDPR, and that's consent. So I'm pretty certain, and maybe don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty certain you can't engage in any open banking activity for things like public task or legitimate interest. It's all based on consent. So although GDPR underpins open banking, and in fact, open banking would not exist without it, it really just narrowly focuses on that consent piece. And it might also be worth stating that, so in GDPR, one of the rights is the right to data portability. And the right to data portability means data, that is about you, that's held by a service provider. You're allowed to say, I want that data to go to another service provider. That is a great right in theory, but it's functionally pretty useless without a strong API ecosystem like open banking. Because they had it before, where you were like downloading a spreadsheet of your banking data and like uploading it to another banking website, and unsurprisingly, no one used it. I mean, Google Takeout, you could like get all of your Google history, but like, what are you gonna do? So having that like data infrastructure in place with the standards and APIs and consent framework and all that is really critical to making that happen. So building off of GDPR, but narrowing the focus.
Thank you, sir. Who's next? Here. Okay.
Hi, I'm Leon from Relearn. Um, so do you know of any way wherein you can, I would say, kickstart how to get the industry to, let's say, get or buy into open banking, because basic game theory suggests that no one would actually want to do it or start it unless it's regulated, unless a regulatory body dictates it. Do you know of any way or any catalyst that can as, make that happen?
Well, I didn't expect a reference to game theory, so kudos to you on that. But I do appreciate that you name checked Kickstart when you were asking your question. So it's a bit of a wash. I think it's really like proving either like the value of it is really critical. So what we're doing with the Smart Data Challenge is using synthetic data. So it's like a relatively very safe way of showing what services you can create should open finance or other smart data schemes become a thing, and therefore you're kind of really blocking any chance that a data holder can say this is not I'm not going to do this, or I'm against doing this because this is bad for my customers. If you prove like this is good for your customers, it takes away that argument, which is a common one. And then other than that, it without a government mandate, it's pretty rare that something like this is going to happen because, again, there are kind of power differentials in these ecosystems, and why make data more open? Why invest in that if you're not going to really clearly kind of get those returns? So I do think there's a combination of things.
Thank you. Thank you, Leon, for the question. Who's next? Okay, sir at the back. If you could say your name and organization, please.
Sorry, before you do that, there's another part I was going to respond, but then I forgot while I was saying the first part. So also with open banking is that people were using screen scraping to provide those services. So the services were happening anyways. It was just in a much less secure way. So open banking, it was actually like a solve for that problem too. So showing that like people are doing this anyway. There's good services. This makes things more secure. You probably still need the government mandate, but those are all responses to that. Sorry to pause you there.
No, it's okay. Sorry, Gian from Digital Ventures. I have a question regarding the one that you've sent a while back that in UK the idea is that it was a good test case until it was not. Um and then with that understanding, and then with everything, like for example, so I came from another discussion a while back where it was said that 93% of Filipinos already have like Gcash or Maya, and then there's like a target of cashless idea of by 2026. So but that's a whole idea where it's totally private. And then you've mentioned regarding open API and then the governance of it, with the things that has happened with UK, or the all the test cases that happened with open data or ODI, who do you think would handle the best in regards with governance, with regulation of like what the open API structure is, what the open platform is, what's premium and what's not? Because technically, going back with what you've mentioned a while back in regards with ethics, that would it be like a segue where it's now a bit private versus a bit public, and then what do you think, from based with the slides you've given a while back as well, do you think best PH would be?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I also forgot to mention that the ODI was involved in setting the open banking standards. I'm a bit jet lagged, so probably should have like said that right off the bat. Yeah. So and when we did that, although it was before my time, so I'm sort of just stating kind of fact that's been passed down to me. It involves independent civil society like the ODI to be able to bring together those banks, the government bodies that were involved. There's a couple different regulators that were needed in the UK context. So you may need more or less in other countries. But having civil society as like an independent arbiter to manage the needs and incentives of different government agencies, different data holders, data providers, is really critical to set that up. And so what they did was create the Open Banking Working Group, which was this convening initiative that brought together these organizations to agree on standards and agree on the ways forward. So it was kind of all the key elements there. Then an organization called Open Banking, the Open Banking Implementation Entity at the time, was a vehicle for then making these standards available and stewarding them. And that was paid for by industry levies. So it was mandated that the 9 banks had to pay for this organization. That organization is now called Open Banking Limited. They have gone out to consultation a number of times on what they should look like. So should it be that they have premium APIs? Should it be that they can allow variable recurring payments? Should there be new APIs added? Should we be able to charge data users as instead of just data providers? And so it's been a lot of public engagement, a lot of working groups from different aspects of industry and civil society. It hasn't been perfect. So, there's been these kind of long working group periods of defining stuff that the members of those working groups don't get paid for their time, so they're volunteering it. And that kind of skews the distribution of who can afford to be at those working groups. So, if I were to go back and suggest how they might change the evolution of open banking, I'd say you need to pay small organizations, or else it's only the wealthy organizations that are going to show up, and then the only voice you're going to hear is them. So, really consultative, participatory ways of managing this, because it's public digital infrastructure. This is it's quite huge, right? It's like the digital banking system that you're defining. So to do that, it requires large representation of the population.
Yes, sir. A gentleman over there. The third row. Thank you.
Thank you. Stuart Boucher. I'm from Veracity, one of the UK companies on the trade mission. Thank you for the presentation. I'm going to slightly bend the rules here and have a two-part question, but in one. So, I know.
To make it like a comma separated, though. It can't be too separate.
Semicolon.
Yeah.
So the question is, I mean, this room is largely full of, on the whole, smaller companies. This is an ecosystem builder. So what can companies like us do to try and influence this? And if that's the case, that we're going to try and influence open standards and open access, do we pick somewhere other than banking to start? Do we try and prove this in a different sector? Because in the UK, you've got lots of different sectors that you're looking at, mortgages and, whatever else it might be. Full stop.
Cool. Well, I mean, so what are your? You have to give it back to him. I got some questions. What? I mean, what sectors are you most interested in as a business?
Oh, interesting. We're a cybersecurity company, so I'm not sure it super fits in here. But you had, for example, like I guess you had mortgages, but you had like transport as a really interesting one. Can ecosystems like this start the process of leveraging that into some kind of open source of data in a way that makes sense for us, because we've all got to make money, as you correctly pointed out in your last question?
Yeah, so I mean, if you're deeply involved in any particular sectors, you understand how data flows in those sectors, what the infrastructure is that allows it, that governs it. Your input would be really valuable in those. So I would say kind of go and provide impact where you think it has the most, provide advice where you think it has the most impact, because it is organizations like yourselves that are part of that wider ecosystem that need to be heard of when designing the security standards and things like that. So like OAuth was chosen for open banking. I don't know exactly why that was, but it was the organizations at the time backed it. So those decisions get made sort of like by committee, and without expert input, they still get made. So it's I guess worth thinking about, where do you think you can have the most hopefully positive impact?
Thank you. Anyone else in the lobby area? Any takers? Okay. Yes, sir.
Hi, Jim from Spark Horizon. I'm going to ask the question everyone asked at a tech event.
How does it scale?
No, the second one. What's the impact of AI, and particularly with all the cost of building a designed API system? Are we at risk of building stranded infrastructure that's going to be overtaken by the next round of technology, which is AI sort of facilitated data interchange protocols, things like that?
Yeah, I probably can't give like the greatest answer to this, but AI solutions are being developed in open banking already. So anything that is, some advisory services, people are piping AI into it and things like that. So it's having impacts already, and will have more once more data is unlocked. Chance of stranded infrastructure, like I guess so. I personally can't say, but hopefully, when these this infrastructure is being developed in that sort of participatory, almost communal way, the people that are building this are thinking about it, because their investments. So the data holders themselves might be the ones that want to future-proof this the most, in case it doesn't, or the least if they think that they can sink the whole thing if they don't want to do it. But yeah, I'm sure it'll have an impact. I can't say for certain exactly what that'll look like.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, someone at the back. Oh.
Hi, good evening. I'm Fernando from Netcore Cloud. Based on our discussion so far, there seems to be a lot of intersections between open finance and blockchain. Do you think there would be some kind of convergence between the two technologies happening in the UK, or is that something in the horizon?
I was wrong. It wasn't the scaling question that always gets asked. It's the blockchain question. I'm not an expert in blockchain, so I'm sorry, but I can't answer that.
Thank you.
Okay, so time check. We have 7 minutes before we close the session. Anyone else from the audience? Okay, hi. Selena C. Zach in front. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'm Zach from the British Embassy in Bangkok. We know each other, Josh, but I
Hi,
haven't
Zach.
asked you this question. We were next to each other on the bus here, which was great fun. My question is, have you met Tim Berners-Lee? And can you tell us a bit about Tim Berners-Lee?
There's my audience plant question for the evening. I have met Tim Berners-Lee. He is a very sweet man, very kind, very engaging, and just seems like he's always just kind of got something going on in his head that he can't quite explain to you, and you can't quite get. And I don't know. It's an interesting kind of relationship when he's in the office. He's one of our founders. He's not always there. He splits his time with other things, like working at MIT and on a new decentralized protocol called Solid. But if he's there, if you want to ask him any question, you can go up and do it, and he's always game to answer and talk to you. So I do appreciate that about him.
Thank
Yeah.
you, Zach. Okay, hi, sir. It's
You're already getting the slides. What's this other question?
As you scale, will you be looking for partners? And if so, which industries or which professionals will you be looking at to partner with?
When you say as I scale, like as the ODI
Yes.
scales, well, we're not. So like these aren't our products or anything. These are just bits of bits. This infrastructure that's being built that we broadly support if it's done in the right way. As the ODI scales in any direction, we're always happy to work with anyone that has similar kind of ethos and similar goals to us. So that mission around improving openness, improving sort of responsible data stewardship, responsible AI development. We're happy to work with anyone that has that as their North Star as well.
So I have a question myself. So unless there's anyone who wants to raise a question. Okay, so my question is, this one. Hi, sir. Please. Happy to have you raise your question.
Yeah, I'm John from Smile. We're one of the few startups locally championing open finance and open data.
Nice.
I'm just curious about do you guys already have like you're set up internationally, like organizations internationally can join like a chapter or something like that across different countries, or is it mostly in the UK or Europe?
No, we're just London based. So to be very open, we did try like a kind of almost like a franchise model 10 years ago or something like that, and had like chapters or nodes in different countries. I think it could work, but the way we executed it was not wildly successful. So we're kind of just really focused on not expanding in that way, but having partner organizations, like organizations we know, trust, like to work with in different countries where there's activity that we can be involved in. And that way, we can not just be these sort of like literal fly-in consultants like I've done this trip, but work with people that know the context and are there to see things develop on the ground, so that we can kind of build that trust and hopefully be more impactful and more effective in that way.
Okay, anyone else? So we have 3 minutes. So maybe at this point, Josh, the question I want to ask you is, if you want to leave one message or takeaway for the audience, what would you like to tell them? Having presented your topic and hearing the questions, what would you like them to leave with, or do you have a question for them or any call to action?
So I think that top one is probably maybe the most useful. But, what I would say is that really look for the value that you can create with any data initiative. Look for the value that's most equitable. That's not necessarily the easiest, so that's all going into one area. In that pursuit, be collaborative and think about how you can mitigate against any of the kind of risks or harms, and really challenge yourself about what you think those are. Yeah, I think that's really all I can say to that.
How would you like them to get in touch with you? LinkedIn, or how do you? Yeah, how do you want them?
If
to
you were at
connect
my presentation earlier today, I was like had QR codes all over the presentation, and I haven't
you know,
put them in this one at all. Do I have one more?
No.
Oh. Well, that is very silly of me. My email is josh@theodi.org. So if you can remember that, then it's pretty straightforward. But yeah, it's also online. Please find me on LinkedIn, on email, however you can message me, carrier pigeon if you can get one of those. And yeah, very happy to talk through any of this and look for ways to work together on these topics.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Josh, on behalf
you all.
of the Kickstart team. Thank you for sharing your time and expertise with the Raid the Fridge audience. So on that note, everyone, it's not the end of the evening. We're open until 10, so you can continue raiding our fridge and eat what we've prepared for you. And I just wanted to share that as of 8 p.m. tonight, we welcome 176 guests tonight, which is one of the highest yet for this year. Not a record breaker yet, because we've had like 220. But this is the highest so far for the year. Maybe next month, it'll top this month's attendance. So just a bit of an announcement. So next month is our 141st Raid the Fridge. It'll be an open mic format. So listen up, startup founders. If you want to pitch your startup, especially for the seed stage startups, it's your chance to share the work that you're doing. If you want to connect with investors for the open mic, just follow our LinkedIn page. We will make the announcement. You can sign up, and then we will choose the startups who will get to the front and pitch their startup, whether it's for to get the attention of potential angel investors or institutional investors.